Okay, hello art people. Today we are going to be working on making auction paddles. So I'll explain more what auction paddles are used for next time you have art on a Friday when we actually get to use them. But it is Friday, so this is your first Friday since I've started doing these auctions. Basically what an auction is where somebody is selling something, but instead of just having a set price for it, they start a lower bid, like a lower price for it, and that would be called a bid. So let's say I'm selling this Play-Doh, and instead of just selling it for 20 art points, I might start it at 10 art points, and then if somebody wants to buy it for 10 art points, they would raise their ballot up, or their paddle up in the air. And that's their way of telling me, without even talking, that they're interested in this. Now, what happens in an auction is maybe two people hold their paddles up. Okay, well then I have a problem, right? I have two people who want this one Play-Doh that I have. So then I could say, okay, what about 11 art points? And then if somebody feels like, oh, that's too expensive, or I don't have 11 art points, I only have 10, they would put their paddle down, and the person who still had their paddle up, that's their way of saying, no, I have 11 points, I still want it. I'll still buy it. And then that person would win the auction. So then that person I would take away 11 of their art points, because they would have been spending them, and then I give them the Play-Doh. So they spend their art points, I just take it out of their account, their art point account, and then they get this. So that is what auctions are. But in order to do our auction, we need something to hold up in the air that says our name. So let's go ahead and get started working with that. So go ahead and grab your pencil. And the first thing that we do is always the same. We pick up the pencil and we write our name in the bottom right corner. So let's all put our name in the bottom right corner. And then we write our class. So your class is the grade you are in. So write the number for the grade you're in. If you're in kindergarten, you write a K. And then the first letter of your teacher's last name. And that's your class. Okay, so we all have our name and our class. Now let's go ahead and make our ballot. So the first thing you're going to do is write your name really big on it. It can be at the top. It can be at the middle. It can be at the bottom. It can be going diagonal. So actually, one second, I'll get you some examples and show you. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't find them. Okay. So here's the ones that I've made already. So these will kind of give you an idea of where you can write your name. So on this one, I wrote it in the middle. This one's more at the top. This one is more in a curve at the top. This one's in the middle. Well, that's the top. And this one's at the top. So those are just some ideas of where you can write yours. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our name first lightly with our pencil. So we are all writing our name large. I'm going to have mine going at a diagonal, which means a line that's leaning. Hope I don't run out of room. But that's why we always draw things lightly first. In case I do run out of room, I need to change it, I can do that. I'm just going to squeeze it in. There. Alright. So we all have our name written lightly and largely. So the next step is you have to decide how you're going to turn your name into artwork. So it's called lettering. And you can either just go around it like I did with a box. I did this with two different ones. This one I just left it. And this one I added a little rectangle on each of the letters. This one I added dots to it. On this one, I'll do bubble letters. That way I can give you a tutorial if you want to do bubble letters. So you go ahead and right now you can start decorating your letters, and I will give a tutorial for how to do bubble letters. So what you do is you go around each line. So I'm doing an oval, I'm going up, and then once I get to a corner, I stop. And then I do another kind of oval, like it's more of a U shape because it's half an oval. U shape around another corner. Okay, here's the end of a line. Go around that. Another corner, so a U goes around that. Here's another corner, so a U goes around that. So that's my bubble. And then actually I can now erase the inside. So that's another reason we draw lightly first, is because a lot of times the sketch, our first part of our drawing, gets erased. And then I just kind of clean it up a little bit. There we go. And that's a little bubble. And then if I want it to be like shiny, I just add that little thing to it. Like, it's kind of like a little Nike swoosh in a way, or like a apostrophe. So I'm going to do it again. So anytime there's an end of a line, I'm going to do a curved line around it. Here's another end of a line, curved line around it. Curved line around it. And that one, the R was a lot easier. And then erase what's on the inside. Okay. So let's keep on making our letter art. And if you're doing block letters, it's really similar to this, except for instead of curved lines going around the ends of your lines and the corners, you do 90-degree angles. So you just make them corners. So I'll give you a little tutorial. So for instance, if I was doing an R in block letters, I would go down the side, and once I get to the end of the letter, I go across. And then back up, around. Oh, I got to the end of a letter, I'm going to go across. Go back around, across. Like that. And that would be more of a block letter. So they go more across versus a curve. So you could do a block letter if you prefer. Okay, in here. And then while we're working on our letter art, I'll just remind you guys, so the way we get art points to spin in our auction is by following the rules. And the rules have a PAWS acronym, P-A-W-S. And P, of course, stands for practice positivity. So in art class, what does that look like, really? What does Miss McFarland feel like practicing positivity is? You can raise your hand and tell me. Okay. If you said being kind to the teacher and the students, then that is correct. And if you ever need a, well, I won't tell you that right now. I'll tell you this. What I was about to say, I'll say it at the end. Okay, good. So practice positivity is being kind to the teacher and the students. So that would mean if the teacher says, okay, now we're going to color with crayons, would you say, what? No! Would that be very positive? No, because that's not really being very kind to the teacher. That's basically saying to the teacher, I don't like your plan. And that's not nice, right? We only want to say nice things. If we don't have anything nice to say, we don't say anything at all. Okay, let's do another scenario. What if the teacher says, okay, you can sit at this table here. And you say, why? What? that being very nice? No, it's not. You're allowed to have feelings. You're allowed to be confused. But what would a better way of dealing with that situation be? Let's say the teacher thought that you were breaking a rule, so she wants you to sit by yourself for a little while, still working on art. Just sit on your own for a little bit to rest and just chill for a minute. But what if it was somebody else who was talking and not you? What if she got it wrong? Should you throw a fit because she got it wrong? She made a mistake. Oh my gosh, we should yell at her because she made a mistake, right? No. What could we do instead? Okay. We could obey the teacher, and then later we could raise our hand and she'll come over to us, and then we can explain, by the way, that wasn't me talking. I just wanted to let you know it was actually somebody else. And then she'd say, oh really? Because I saw you talking. And she'd either catch you in your lie, or she would say, oh, my bad, you can go back to your seat. And then it's not a big deal, right? Okay, so we've done our bubble letters, or our art letters, however you want to turn into art, we've done that. So now we're going to get to decorate. We're going to draw pictures around it. So you can either draw circles, draw little pictures, draw stars and flowers and dots, draw zigzags and loopy lines and dots, draw outer space. Those are just some ideas. You can really draw anything that you want. I'm going to draw art things because I really like art. So this is going to kind of express me. I'm expressing myself through this. So I'm going to draw a little classical palette. Paint palette here. But you draw something. It could just be designs. It could be you're expressing your personality. So if you like soccer, you could draw a soccer ball. If you like basketball, you could do basketball. If you like video games, you could draw a controller. Whatever is cool. I'm going to draw some stuff that expresses me, which is art supplies. Okay. So, acting responsibly is what the A stands for. What does that look like in art class, do we think? While we draw here. Okay, if you said, stay on task the whole time, that's correct. Stay on task the whole time. So, we're not going to stop working and tell a story to our neighbor. Now, 99.99999% of the time, I let you guys talk quietly while you work. So if you can tell a story quietly to your neighbor while you're working, then that is not something I'm going to yell at you for. Not that I really ever yell. But that's not breaking a rule. But as long as you're working, and I'll tell you what my art teacher told me growing up. He said if your talking stops you from working, stop talking. So we still gotta work on our art. We gotta stay on task. Because everything I tell you to do, I thought long and hard about that decision that I've made, and I feel like it's the best decision for you. Okay, got a pencil, some paint, palette. Let's see what else I could draw. I might draw some yarn because I like to crochet. So if you stay on task the whole time, and if you practice positivity, being kind to the teacher and the students, that's 2 art points right there that you've earned. Art points. And remember, we're making auction paddles so that we can participate in auctions. Okay, so who can let me know what the W stands for? Okay. If you said work and play safe, that is correct. Good job. And what does that look like in the art classroom? This is my yarn. Doesn't really look like yarn. Well, it kind of does. Okay. If you said stay in your area, that is correct. Another way we work and play safe in the art room is use the supplies how Mrs. McFarland does. So you don't just get to make it up. So for instance, let's say you feel like it's the best way to use erasers is to stab it with your pencil. Okay, well, Mrs. McFarland's not doing that, so that means that that's not the best way to use that supplies. Let's say you feel like with the paintbrushes, the best way to use your paintbrushes is to paint your hands. Okay, well, Mrs. McFarland doesn't paint her hands, so that's not what you're doing. That's another way to earn art point. So you work and play safe. And we have one more rule, and it starts with S. Who can let me know what that rule is? Okay, it is show respect. So what's the first part of show respect in art class? Okay, it's let go, look, and listen when the teacher is talking to us. So at the beginning of class, when I go over objectives and I let you guys know what we're doing that day, and we talk about the day a little bit, you let go, look, and listen. And what is the other way that we can show respect in art class? Okay, the answer is being quiet or silent when working. So we're talking at a voice level 1 or a voice level 2. That way everybody can have a nice peaceful time in art class. Believe it or not, people might not want to hear you being super loud during class. They might want a nice peaceful, enjoyable experience in art class. This might be a really peaceful time. Think about when you go to Be Well, how it's really relaxing in there. Art is kind of like Be Well for your brain. It's like yoga for your brain. They start buying balloons. Okay. So voice level 3 would just be a normal talking voice like this. But what I usually talk at is a voice level 3. And that is not your voice level for art class. You're at a 1 or at a 2. And then a voice level 4 is like you're giving a presentation. I want to make sure that the world can hear me. So we're not doing that either. I don't even really like to be at a 4. But sometimes I have to be. And then a 5 is when you're like yelling. And that's really more for recess. So I also hate being at a voice level 5. I only am a voice level 5 if I have to be. If the class is super loud. And it's the only way for the class to hear my instructions. And if the class is at a 5 or if the class is being loud, if I'm at a voice level 5, it's because the class is too loud. I should never have to go above a 3. And you guys should never have to go above a 1 or a 2 to chat with your neighbor. If you have to go to a 3, a 4, or a 5, that means you need to work on your voice control, or the people around you are being so loud that you have to talk over them. So, okay. So that is the drawing segment of this project. And now we are going to go ahead and color. So I'm going to color with markers. So first, let's color our letters. So if you are just going to go over your letters with marker, do that. If you are going to just color the sides of yours, you can do that. So on and so forth. I'm going to color inside my letters here. Oh, this one's dried out. I'm just going to use a different one. There we go. We are doing this whole project together, so if you have already finished coloring the letters in, you can either go back to a step that we have previously worked on, which would be drawing the pictures or drawing your design, or your other option is to get an early finisher worksheet, work on that while the rest of us finish our letters. And another option would be just a free draw on the back. Draw a picture on the back. So there's lots of pictures around the art room. If you need an idea of something to draw, you can look around and draw something that you see. You can draw something from your brain, but free draw is not really a time to practice scribbling. But yeah, you guys get to color this however you want. So you can think about different color schemes whenever you color. So a color scheme is just a set of colors. So who can raise your hand and tell me what are one of the color schemes that you could choose from? Can anybody raise your hand and tell me a color scheme? Okay. So some answers that you could have said would be cool colors. You could do a cool color scheme. Warm color scheme, primary colors, secondary colors, complementary colors, split complementary colors, analogous. Those are all color schemes you can choose, or rainbow, or you don't have to choose a color scheme if you don't want. You could just do random colors. And then who can try to tell me what would a cool color scheme be? What colors would be in a cool color scheme if you were to choose that? Okay, if you said purple, blue, and green, that is correct. And you can raise your hand and tell me, what would a warm color scheme be? What three colors are warm colors? Okay, if you said red, yellow, and orange, that would be correct. Alright, so that is all I'm going to do in this video. We will do some more in the next video, but there you go. That's the beginning of our auction paddle. Thanks for watching.